morning, my beautiful agents of chaos. It's Thursday, May 22nd, and if today's headlines feel like a blend of reality TV and international scandal, it's because they are. We've got JD Vance making cancer political, Trump bringing apartheid-era conspiracy theories into the Oval, and the DOJ ghosting police reform like it's a bad Tinder match. Oh, and we'll wrap it all up with the one place we didn't expect climate progress, China. So go ahead, sip that caffeine like it's classified intel, because this is your SassCast, where the news doesn't just talk back, it bites. Let's dive in. We're starting today with Vice President JD Vance, who took a solemn moment and somehow turned it into a press tour audition for America's most awkward soundbite. In response to Joe Biden's recent cancer diagnosis and aggressive bone metastasized illness, Vance stepped up to the mic and immediately tripped over it. Standing outside Air Force 2, Vance wished Biden a good recovery, which cue, but when pivoted straight into conspiracy mode, questioning whether there was a cover-up about Biden's health and whether he was ever medically fit to serve. Because when someone announces they have advanced cancer, clearly the most presidential move is to question their job performance like it's a Yelp review. Vance's comments triggered blowback from across the political spectrum, with critics saying, well, we're all thinking, this ain't it. Even people who don't support Biden managed to locate their compassion chip for 5 minutes. JD Vance still buffering, and to no one's surprise, this little outburst didn't help his approval numbers, which are already floating somewhere between spam calls and airplane middle seats. Look, it's not wrong to talk about fitness for office, but maybe not while the man is literally in treatment. There's a difference between oversight and opportunism, and JD Vance just gave us a masterclass in the latter. Next up, President Trump just brought one of the most volatile international conspiracy theories into the Oval Office and straight to the president of South Africa's face. In a move that had diplomats and fact-checkers both reaching for their blood pressure meds, Trump showed South African President Ramaphosa a video and printed materials alleging a white genocide against South African farmers. He followed it up by halting all U.S. aid to South Africa and welcoming white South African farmers into the U.S. as refugees, because clearly this administration's new immigration policy is only if Fox News told us to. The meeting was reportedly tense, with Trump playing footage of a far-left South African politician chanting, "Kill the farmer," and pointing to white crosses marking graves, only to later claim the headlines were recent, despite most experts noting they were misleading, outdated, or completely unverified. Now, let's be clear. Yes, South Africa has a crime problem. Yes, land reform is messy and controversial. But the claim of a state-backed white genocide, completely debunked. Multiple investigations, including from human rights orgs, have confirmed that farm violence affects all races and that white farmers are not being specifically targeted. So why amplify this narrative now? Critics on the left say Trump's stroking racial division and recycling apartheid-era fear-mongering. Defenders on the right say he's exposing truths that polite globalists are too squeamish to admit. Either way, the diplomatic fallout is real. This move tanked already fragile U.S. and South Africa relations to their lowest point since 1984 and turned a serious conversation about crime and land reform into a MAGA media circus. Bottom line, there's a difference between raising human rights concerns and using a foreign government meeting to push conspiracy-laced culture war content. But hey, when the only thing you pack for a state visit is a flash drive and a grudge, this is what you get. While you were sleeping, the Justice Department quietly ghosted two of the most high-profile police reform cases in the country. On May 21st, the DOJ officially ditched efforts to enforce federal consent decrees in Minneapolis and Louisville. You know, the two cities that sparked global protests after the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. According to Assistant AG Hermite DeLone, over 100 attorneys were demoted or quit because they didn't want to keep pursuing consent decrees. Her team now says the decrees were overboard, anti-police, and a textbook case of federal overreach. Translation: we'd like to stop supervising ourselves now, thanks. Meanwhile, civil rights advocates are sounding the alarm. Without oversight, what's left of the progress we made since 2020? Because rolling back reforms doesn't just hit headlines, it hits neighborhoods. Now, don't get it twisted. There is some bipartisan agreement here. Everyone agrees police reform is needed, but the split is over how to do it. The left calls this a rollback on accountability and a green light for departments to return to business as usual. The right sees it as a win for local autonomy and a step away from bureaucratic overkill. And in the middle, regular Americans wondering why we're treating racial justice like a trend we outgrew after summer 2020. Let's get clear. You can't build trust when you keep abandoning the blueprint. You can't say law and order while hitting snooze on justice, and you sure as hell can't move forward if your idea of reform is stop trying. All right, we've unpacked political pettiness, international drama, and federal backpedaling, but don't go refilling your coffee just yet. The circus has more acts, and we're about to speed run them like a toddler hopped up on a juice box. Let's hit the quick hits, because chaos waits for no one. Columbia University president booed at commencement. At Columbia University's graduation ceremony, acting president Claire Shipman faced boos and chants of "Free Muhammad" from students protesting the detention of graduate student Muhammad Khalil by ICE. Nike to raise prices amid tariff pressures. Nike announced it will increase prices on select footwear and apparel items by up to $10, citing rising production costs. While the company hasn't explicitly linked the hikes to recent tariffs, analysts suggest trade policies may be influencing these adjustments. Treasury sanctions Mexican cartel members. The U.S. Treasury Department sanctioned 2 members of the Cartel del Norte, a Mexican drug trafficking organization, for their involvement in drugs and arms trafficking activities. Richard Grinnell joins Live Nation board amid antitrust probe. Live Nation appointed Richard Grinnell, former U.S. ambassador and Trump administration official, to its board of directors. This comes as the company faces a Department of Justice antitrust investigation into its ticketing practices. Trump shares edited video targeting Bruce Springsteen. President Trump posted a doctored video on social media showing him hitting a golf ball that appears to strike Bruce Springsteen, causing him to fall. The video is part of an ongoing public feud between the two figures. Trump's approval rating declines amid economic concerns. A recent Reuters Ipsos poll indicates President Trump's approval rating has dipped to 42%, matching the lowest level of his current term, with economic concerns cited as a significant factor. Capitol riot defendant convicted on gun charges near Obama's home. Taylor Trento, a participant in the January 6th Capitol riot, was convicted on federal firearms charges after being arrested near former President Barack Obama's residence with weapons and ammunition in his vehicle. Judge rules Trump's firing of privacy board Democrats unlawful. A federal judge ruled that President Trump's dismissal of 2 Democratic members from the Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board was unlawful, emphasizing the importance of maintaining the board's bipartisan structure. Trump administration considers deep-sea mining near America Samoa. The Trump administration announced it will evaluate a request to lease seabed areas near America Samoa for deep-sea mining of critical minerals, sparking environmental concerns over potential impact on marine ecosystems. Tell me something good. Let's end on a high note, because it turns out even the world's biggest polluter can have a redemption arc. According to new data from Carbon Breeze, China's carbon emissions have actually dropped by 1% over the last 12 months, and the decline is picking up speed. In Q1 of 2025, emissions from China's power sector fell a solid 5.8%, marking what analysts say it could be at the start of a structural long-term reduction. Why renewables? Turns out China's massive investment in solar, wind, and hydro power is finally making a measurable dent. The coal plants are still there, but the sun's doing more heavy lifting now, and Beijing might just be starting to decarbonize for real. And before anyone throws a "but what about" from across the aisle, let's be clear. This isn't a free pass. This isn't perfection, but it is progress, and it's proof that even the biggest players can pivot. So here's to good news that spans oceans, to emissions charts that finally slope the right way, and to climate hope wherever it comes from, even if it's powered by wind turbines spinning under the Great Wall. And that's your Thursday SassCast, where the facts are tight, the tone is spicy, and the nonsense never leaves unchecked. Because here's the thing. You can call it politics, you can call it governance, but most days it's giving reality show with nukes. Like, follow, smash every button your platform allows, and drop this in the comments. What's one moment this week that made you question if we're still in the simulation? Stay bold, stay brilliant, and above all, stay allergic to bullshit. See you tomorrow!